Tonight's star movie feature was made possible by the members of 13.
As we look forward to the election this fall, it's also a good time to take a look back at the principles this country embodies. We live in a nation built on a foundation of freedom of choice, a principle we try to impart to our children. But knowing they're free to choose is not the same as knowing how. It's not easy with so much to choose from, but variety is America's true wealth. By teaching our children to appreciate life's diversity, we can also teach them to evaluate, to carefully consider, and eventually to choose. One value of public television lies in its ability to make our country's diversity comprehensible and to expose children to other people and places that offer even more choices. If this strikes you as a responsible broadcast goal that can benefit your family, you can let this station know with your support.
Elect to participate in 13 as a new member. Send your $40 check to 13, Box 1313, New York 10101.
Don't start out by making me hate you.
You won't hate me, Molly. You'll love me.
It's you I'll always want. Some of your sweetness got into my blood. I guess it's there for life.
Thirteen keeps its movie fans on track with this member-funded epic tomorrow at 11. Then at 1:15, stay tuned for more Cecil B. DeMille magic when Claudette Colbert stars in Cleopatra.
In 1789, the U.S. gave the vote to all adult white male citizens. In 1870, the U.S. gave the vote to all male citizens, including blacks. In 1920, the U.S. gave the vote to all adult citizens, including women. In 1971, the U.S. gave the vote to all citizens 18 and older. Getting you the right to vote was no piece of cake. Registering to vote is. Do it now. Register. This week on a Live from Off-Center, composer John Zorn and video pioneer Robert Cayenne team up to recreate the magical world of Godard. Then it's Big New Rybczynski's stunning foray into the fourth dimension and choreographer Stephen Petronio's dance fantasy, number 3. Join host Ann Magnuson as television comes alive from Off-Center.
Something completely different Sunday at 10:30.
Fill her up.
Fill her up.
Fill her up next.
I'm George Siegel. I'm a sculptor. I live in New Jersey, and we're going on a tour of the Newark Museum today. First stop, my sculpture of the toll booth. And the man who posed for it is Sam Miller, director of the museum. Sam.
George, how good to see you. Welcome to the Grand Gallery. George, this is but a sampling of our American holdings from the 19th century, 1850 to 1900, which just gives you a little bit of an idea of the strength of our holdings in American art. George, this is a rather interesting picture here.
What's the story?
The story on this is that, first of all, that's Henry Wadsworth Longfellow and his daughter. Mm-hmm. And these are three artists, McEntee, G.P.A. Healy, and Frederick Church. And the three of them collaborated on this one picture. One of them painted the art, one of them painted the figures, and the other painted the Colosseum. It's rather curiosity, really. But also, I think, a very handsome picture.
Sam, I've heard that this Tibetan collection is one of the most famous in the world. Is that true?
It's the most important collection in the Western Hemisphere. And it was founded, actually, by a missionary, a medical missionary in Tibet between 1900 and 1910. This altar, by the way, has been visited and blessed by the Dalai Lama. He has made 2 visits to the museum to honor the collection.
This is the African Gallery, and it's a permanent gallery. And this is just one of the highlights of our many exhibitions. It's ritual and ceremony in African life. This is such a wonderful gallery because it's a living gallery. We have participatory workshops and guided tours.
It's a very, very important part of our work. We've docented 60,000 school children last year.
We've had many programs, activities, exhibition, events over our 77-year history. We have many music concerts, classical and jazz, arts and crafts shows, educational programs, and we also have a big celebration at the museum during Black History Month.
Adjacent to the museum, I'd like to show you the largest single object in the decorative arts collection, namely a whole house. The Ballantyne House, built in 1885 by the Beer family. You know, Ballantyne beer was started here in Newark at the beginning of the 19th century.
It certainly doesn't look like your low-cost minimal housing.
No, George, absolutely not. I really call it beer baronial. I'd just like to point out, obviously, the table, which is set for a gala dinner party with accoutrements that would be typical of the period.
I'm charmed by this painting.
It's a terrific little picture, isn't it? You know, anonymous. We don't know who did it.
Yeah, Mr. Anonymous evidently lived in Newark, and I think what makes this picture very moving for me is he's reading the Newark Times. It's obviously his pipe, his Cavendish tobacco. It's everything he loves, and it's not stacked like a European painting. It's intensely personal with his own private associations. It's very American.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, Sam.
From San Francisco, where the arts come alive, is made possible in part by a grant for the arts by the San Francisco Hotel Tax Fund.
Hello, gang. The weekend has begun, and so has Friday night on 13. And to kick off this night world, we have a message of top priority for you. Now, you may have seen some of these messages before, but each one is different and has an important point to make. So give us just 60 seconds for this word on pluralism.
The actions, reactions, and interactions of different groups of people often determine the political consensus of our nation. The concept is called pluralism, and it means that our society is made up of smaller societies, each with different needs and each with an important role to play, especially during presidential election years like 1988. I'm Douglas Edwards for 13, the station that echoes this pluralistic process every day. by broadcasting programs for all the varied groups of people who live in the metropolitan area. There's a place for all viewpoints on 13, and like the election process, 13 depends upon the participation and support of its members.
Join in this important process. Your check is your vote for 13. Rush it to Box 1313, New York 10101.
We've got one campaign promise that needs your yes vote. Watch for a letter from us.
Here's our Night World lineup. Later tonight on All About TV, it's a discussion about the quality of children's television. Then Martin Sheen, Gary Busey, and Ned Beatty star in the execution of Private Slovik, the only American soldier to be executed for desertion since the Civil War. And like all our movies, it's completely member-funded. Then at 5:30, we'll travel to London, where the women's movement is growing strong, and we'll find out about this militant campaign. I'm Robert Kovacic, and I'll be watching the shows with you and keeping you company all night long. Now, I have some friends visiting me from Australia, and they say that Fresh Fields is one of their favorite sitcoms. Let's watch what the people from Down Under say we shouldn't miss.